What's up guys, Boost Auto here. Today we're going to be showing you how to install Lumastep M2 and Boost Auto powered running boards on your 2022 and newer Toyota Tundra. Let's get into it.
Introducing Lumastep M2, the successor of Boost Auto's Lumastep M1, the one-of-a-kind light-up running boards that took the industry by storm. Lumastep M2 features the same lighting technology with all the lighting functions you know, but with the upgrades we'll know you'll love. Experience the comfort of our premium auto retract and auto deploy technology, featuring heavy-duty front motors on both sides that output over 2 times the torque of some of the other stuff out there. They are ready to go when you need them and tuck away when you're done. Boost auto-powered running boards feature all the awesome features from Lumastep M2 without the light-up functionality for those who love to keep a low profile. These boards are just as rugged and powerful as Lumastep M2, with the benefit of being nearly invisible when not in use. This specific procedure applies to 2022 and newer Toyota Tundra double cab and Crew Max trucks. To get the latest on fitment, availability, and to purchase these running boards, visit our website at boostauto.com. We'll begin our installation by installing our mounting brackets to the vehicle.
We're on the passenger side of the vehicle. We're going to be looking at our mounting points for Lumastep M2 and Boost Auto powered running boards. Your front mounting point is going to be around here, and your rear bracket is going to mount around here. Now we're going to mount our bracket labeled PF on the passenger side of the vehicle in the front mounting point underneath the vehicle. You might have bolts pre-installed. Before you install your bracket, you're going to need to remove those. With that bolt removed, your front mounting points will be here, here, and here.
Just a quick side note, you might have a foam insulation piece on your mounting location like shown here. Due to the shape of our bracket, it will not interfere. Go ahead and mount your bracket.
Go ahead and mount your bracket labeled PF on the passenger side on the front mounting location with the 3 bolts provided. Remember, it's going to be a bolt head, lock washer, and then flat washer. Once you've got 2 on the left mounted in, go ahead and mount the last bolt on the side of the motor. Now that we've got all of our bolts threaded in, we can go ahead and tighten our bolts, but not tighten them all the way. Now we're going to mount our rear bracket. It's going to be labeled rear. The difference between the rear bracket and the front bracket is that this is going to be free floating, and it's going to be mounted in the rear of the vehicle. Like the front, you might have some pre-existing bolts threaded into those holes you're going to need to mount this. If you do, make sure to remove those prior. Now we're going to go ahead and mount our rear bracket at these 3 points. It goes on just like the front with 3 bolts with a lock washer and a flat washer. Now that we've got this bolt hand threaded, we can go ahead and start tightening up the rest of these bolts. But remember, not tighten them all the way as we're making further adjustments once the boards are on. With that done, we can go ahead and move over to our driver's side of the vehicle and mount our rear bracket and the driver front bracket. Driver front bracket's gonna be labeled DF, and they mount just like the passenger side in the same spots. So now we just installed our brackets, and right now we are on the inside of the vehicle. We're looking at the display of our Tundra. These Tundras have a security feature that we're gonna go ahead and disable before we disconnect our battery. So we're gonna go to the settings sidebar in the menu, click on it, and we're gonna scroll down to where it says info and security right there. Click on it, and we're gonna make sure this setting called privacy lock, it might also be called security lock, is turned off. And now we're good to go ahead and go under the hood of the vehicle and disconnect the battery. Now before you remove power from your truck, you're gonna wanna open your tailgate. With our security lock system disabled, we can go ahead and now disconnect our negative battery terminal. Your battery is going to be located on the passenger side of the vehicle near the firewall. Now disconnect your negative battery terminal by loosening this nut. If you have a hybrid vehicle, you're going to have an auxiliary battery. Your auxiliary battery is going to be in the rear seat behind the driver, and you're going to pull this tab and flip the seat up, and it will be located in here. And you'll need to remove the negative terminal from that battery to isolate power from the truck. Whether you ordered Boost Auto powered running boards or Lumastep M2, you're gonna receive our control unit harness. Your control unit harness is gonna have 2 connectors that are gonna plug into your motors on your brackets. They're gonna be labeled passenger side and driver side. You're also gonna have your main control unit connector that's gonna plug into your control unit. And then you're gonna have 2 hookups. You're gonna have one that is gonna say battery positive. This is gonna be where you hook up to your positive terminal on your battery. And then another one that is gonna be labeled battery negative. It's right here, where you're gonna hook up to your negative terminal on your battery. And then you're gonna have 2 leads coming off of your harness that that are going to be enabled high and low. These are your signal inputs for your control unit. And if you option for Lumastep M2, you're going to receive 2 additional harnesses. These are going to be your lighting harnesses, and these are going to be side dependent. This harness is going to be exclusive for the passenger side of the vehicle. You can tell it's going to be the passenger side harness because it's going to have this long lead with this blue wire on the end of it, and it's going to have the positive and negative battery terminal hookups that are going to be these right here. Your other harness that isn't going to have those leads, it's going to be a little smaller than the other one, and it's just going to have this pass-through connector right here, and then this spade terminal on the red and yellow wire, along with your 2 connectors right here. This is going to be on your driver's side of the vehicle. These are side dependent, and they need to go on the right side. We're going to start by routing our wires on the passenger side of the vehicle, going down the fender well, and we're going to be grabbing our connector labeled passenger side. And if you have Lumastep M2, we're routing this blue wire down with it. And with the blue wire, the rest of the harness will go along with it. So take a straightened out piece of metal like so, and then take your 2 harnesses and tape them to this, and then we'll go ahead and run it down the fender well. We're rerouting this coat hanger down the fender well and along this path to our motor connector down there. Now we're gonna go ahead and route our coat hanger down the fender. We're gonna route on the outside of the frame to keep it away from the exhaust, and we're gonna route from around this area. Go ahead and pull it through. Now that your harness is down by the bracket, we can go ahead and untape it. On the passenger side, if you went with Lumastep M2, you're going to be routing this blue wire down. You're going to need to pull the harness enough to bring down the 2 module connectors. And now, with our harnesses in the right spot, we're going to go ahead and plug them all in. Now we're plugging in our gray motor connector into the gray connector on the bracket. For Lumastep M2 installers, make sure to plug in the module connectors into the extension on the bracket. Now that you've plugged in your connectors, if you're running Lumastep M2, you're still gonna have this blue harness. For now, we're gonna go ahead and just leave that to the side. We'll come back to it later. Now, we're gonna repeat all these steps on the driver's side of the vehicle. For those of you installing a Lumastep M2, instead of routing with the blue wire, you're gonna route with these 2 module connectors, as this side doesn't have a blue wire. With our control unit harness ran, for those of you installing a Lumastep M2, you're gonna have this white pass-through connector on both your passenger and driver's side. We're gonna go ahead and plug those together in the engine bay. On the passenger side of the vehicle, located near the battery, we're gonna go ahead and secure our control unit. We're gonna zip that right around here, just to keep it secure. When you mount it, be sure to keep it away from any heat or moving components. Now plug in your main control unit harness. Now that our control unit is all secured, for those of us installing Lumastep M2, we're gonna go ahead and start routing our red and yellow wire to begin for tapping for signal. On the passenger side of the vehicle, we're gonna get the red and yellow wire from the passenger side harness and run it over to the headlight. Now this next part is for Lumastep M2 only. We're gonna be tapping for signal at our headlights.
Your headlight will be configured in one of 2 different variations. Depending on your vehicle, you may either have a single large 24-pin connector on the back of your headlight, or you may have a few connectors, one of them being a small 3-pin connector located in the bottom outer corner of the headlight. Let's first go over how to remove each connector from the headlight housing. Here's a close look at the single large 24-pin connector located on some of the headlights in this year range. To remove it, press down and then the latch will release. Then you can push it back to remove it.
If you want more room on your harness for tapping, you can go ahead and just pull to dislodge it from the tape, and then you have a lot more room to tap.
Now, if your vehicle does not have the large single 24-pin connector, it'll come equipped with a few connectors, one of them being a small 3-pin connector located here in the bottom outer corner of the headlight. Unplug the headlight connector by pressing the tab. Let's first go over tapping if you have this large 24-pin headlight connector. If your vehicle has the smaller 3-pin connector, please skip ahead where we'll go over tapping to that connector afterwards.
We're going to be tapping for signal at pin 11 with the tab on top right there. Pin 11 is going to be in the top leftmost slot. That's going to be this wire right here. Install red T-tap on the wire in pin 11. Now press until it clicks into place. Now with your T-tap secure, we can go ahead and take the red and yellow wire from your harness and plug it in. Now go ahead and plug your connector back in.
Next, we'll go over tapping to the 3-pin headlight connector. Locate pin 1 located in the rightmost slot. Tap to pin 1 using a red T-tap provided in your kit. Press until it clicks into place. Connect the red and yellow wire with the disconnect and insert it into the T-tap you just installed. Then reinstall the headlight connector back into place.
With passenger side signal tapped, we're going to go ahead and repeat these steps on the driver's side of the vehicle for driver's side signal. Now, Remember the blue wire that we had left previously under the vehicle? This is where we're gonna get our running light signal from. We're gonna go ahead and run this along the outside of our frame, making sure to keep it away from the exhaust all the way to our tailgate, and we're gonna be tapping at our rear tail light. To remove the tail light, we're gonna have to remove these 2 bolts right here. Here and here. To remove our tail light, there's a trim clip on the back that's holding it in place. So we need to just firmly hold it and pop it out of the spot and then guide it out. And now we need to unclip these harness retainers from the tail light so we can remove our tail light. Using a trim tool, go ahead and pop these clips here and here out of place, and then we're gonna go ahead and unplug this connector and we can remove the tail light.
And then one more tab that needs to be popped out as well.
Finally, we can unplug our taillight connector. We're gonna be tapping for running light at pin 6 with the connector latch on top. Pin 6 is in the bottom left. It's this wire right here. We're gonna be installing a red T-tap on this wire and pin 6. Now press until it clicks into place. Now we're gonna be running the blue wire that we ran along the frame up into this cavity over here. Plug your blue wire into the T-tap you just installed on the taillight connector. Plug your connector back into your taillight and then re-secure your harness.
And tie up any slack as well.
And from here, we can just go ahead and clip our taillight back into the bed. Once clipped back into the bed, you can go ahead and tighten your bolts. Now that we've completed the tapping for our running light, we're gonna be routing our signal wires from under hood into the cab of the vehicle. But there's a couple things we're gonna need to remove first before we go ahead and do that. With the driver door open, we're gonna be removing our driver kick panel. So to do that, we need to remove this door sill plate first. And with that off, we can just set this aside. Next, we're gonna be removing this kick panel here. But there's a nut on the back side that needs to be removed before we can remove the kick panel. Now, to remove the kick panel, all we have to do is just pop it out of place, then guide it off of the stud in the back, and remove it. For our Lumastep M2 installers, who optioned for our rock light harness, we're about to connect that now. So take your rock light harness and then set it in these crimps and crimp them down. Now go ahead and repeat this step with the other connector you have right here. Heat shrink the 2 butt connectors. Next, we'll be running our signal inputs into the cab through the grommet in the driver's side kick panel right by the firewall. We're in the driver's side footwell over here. We're by the brake pedal right here. Your grommet is going to be right here. It's covered by this insulation material, but all you have to do is just kind of pull it, get it out of the way, and then that's the grommet we'll be going through. We're going to go through this small spot right there. So take your straightened out metal piece and run it through that small opening there and poke through. And run your straightened out metal piece into the engine bay. Now pull the straightened metal piece out of the grommet, but don't pull it all the way out and leave some bit inside the cab. Now, we're gonna go ahead and tape our control unit harness, the ends of it, labeled high and low, to this straightened out piece of metal, and we're gonna make sure it's super secure as we're gonna pull it back through into the cab. For those of you installing Lumastep M2 and options for rock light, we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the switch from the harness and tape it to this piece of metal too and pull that through. Now with your harness taped up, we're gonna go ahead and pull it through the grommet.
With the wires run through, untape them from the straightened out metal piece. Next, locate this 14-pin connector with wires exiting at the bottom. This is the CAN junction connector that we will be tapping our signal input wires at. To unplug the connector, there's a tab on the front that you'll press in. Then you can maneuver it out.
Cut some of the tape off the harness so you have more room to work with your wires. We're gonna be tapping for signal high first. So with the latch on top facing up, we're gonna be tapping at pin 1. Pin 1 is gonna be on the top row, all the way to the right. So now take one of your control unit taps from your kit, set it over the wire, and just press down until you hear it click. Now grab your single input wires that we ran through the firewall and grab the one labeled high and set it into this tap and then press until it clicks into place. Now we're gonna be tapping for signal low. Signal low is gonna be in pin 8. That's gonna be on the second row all the way to the right. Now take your other control unit tap and tap on this wire. Press until it clicks into place. Now, take your other wire from your control unit harness, labeled low, and insert it into this tap. Press until it clicks into place. Now, we can go ahead and plug this connector back in. Now, tuck your wires from the side.
Now for Lumastep M2 installers that option for our Boost Auto Rock light harness, go ahead and locate a suitable spot on the dash to mount the rock light switch. Then drill a hole into the dash. Once the hole is drilled, we can install the switch. Be sure to connect the white wire to slot 1 and the red wire to slot 2.
Now we're going to go ahead and reassemble the interior pieces we took off. That means that side kick plate and the scuff plate. And once that's back in place, you can go ahead and reinstall the plastic nut that was on the stud. Finally, reinstall the scuff plate. With everything wrapped up on the inside, we're back at our battery on the passenger side by the firewall, and we're going to go ahead and reconnect it. Remember, if you have a hybrid vehicle, you're also going to have an auxiliary battery under your back seat on the driver's side of the vehicle. They're also going to have to reconnect. Next, we're going to remove this nut so we can install our ground terminal for our control unit. Now we're installing our control unit ground to the ground terminal. It's labeled battery negative. If you're also installing Lumastep M2, take the black wire from your passenger side harness with the ring terminal on it and also connect it to the ground terminal right now. Now we can go ahead and resecure the nut. Next, we're going to do these steps with the positive terminal this time. We're going to go ahead and pull this cover off to reveal our positive terminal. We're now going to remove this 12mm nut. Now install your control unit positive. This is going to be labeled battery positive onto this stud. Now we're installing our positive terminal from our Lumastep M2 harness. For those of you installing Lumastep M2 and purchase Boost Auto's Rocklight harness, go ahead and install the positive terminal to the battery at this time now too. Now with all your wires on there, go ahead and reinstall the nut. And then you can go ahead and reinstall the cover.
Now we'll install our running boards. In front of me, you can see we have our Boost Auto-powered running boards, as well as our Lumastep M2 powered light-up running boards. They install exactly the same, however. For Lumastep M2 powered light-up running boards, you'll have your module in front, as well as the lighting strip that goes across the length of the board. Before installing our running boards, we'll install our carriage bolts on the backside of the boards. Start with flipping the board over. We'll be installing our carriage bolts on the backside in this channel of the running board. On the opposite end of your Boost Auto nameplate on the running board, slide in your carriage bolts right here. Please note, if your running boards included our spacer plate kit, you'll need to use the longer carriage bolts from that kit at this part. If not, please ignore. Then slide the carriage bolts in the approximate location of your brackets.
Now we're getting ready to almost mount our boards. What we're going to do is we're going to deploy our front bracket by opening the door, and then we're going to deploy our rear bracket by pulling it out into the deployed position. If your kit came with these spacer plates, we're going to go ahead and set these spacer plates on our brackets. If your kit didn't come with these spacer plates, you can go ahead and just ignore this part. Now we can install our running board. Now I'm lining up our bolts with the brackets. Before we install our nuts, we're going to want to make sure that our running board, the rear end cap is lining up with the rear part of our body. So now you can see how the rear end cap matches the rear corner of our cab. Once your bolts are lined up in your brackets, you can go ahead and insert the nuts, but don't tighten them all the way. For those of you installing Lumastep M2, we're now going to plug our extension harness from the bracket into the module on our running board. Now install the harness guide to your harness, and then clip it into the running board. The harness guide can be cut to specific lengths for your specific fitment. Now we're going to open and close the door, and then we're going to assist the rear bracket with going up, and then we're going to finally tighten down everything once it's in place.
Be sure to tighten down the board first, then the bracket.
Then we can repeat the alignment process on the driver's side of the vehicle. Now tie up your harness, making sure it's away from any heat or moving components.
Now, here's a quick overview of the cleaning procedure for your new running boards. On either side of the vehicle, simply open the door and allow the board to deploy. With the board now deployed, step on the running board and close the door. After a few seconds, the board will then try to retract. Thanks to our pinch sensing technology, the board will stay deployed for ease of cleaning. Simply take your foot off the board and proceed to clean. If you optioned your running boards with step pads, we highly recommend our step pad cleaning solution to prolong the longevity of your step pads. Once done, you can open and close the door to retract the running boards.
That's a wrap on Lumastep M2 and Boost Auto powered running boards. Thank you for choosing Boost Auto for your aftermarket accessory needs. If you're interested in these or any other product Boost Auto has to offer, check out our website at boostauto.com. And to see more videos like this, check out our YouTube page. That's all for now, and we'll catch you in the next one.